What up, everyone? Coach David here.
Hey, Professor Muhammad, good morning.
And we got another episode of the podcast. So, Coach, what are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about the gym, GYM. Why the gym, Jiu-Jitsu, what's the difference? Why do you do one over the other? What made you cross over? We got some pretty interesting topics. Got a lot of good feedback from the community. So looking forward to it.
Great. So what's our first question?
So first question that came in is, what makes somebody start jiu-jitsu? What makes them seek out jiu-jitsu? I mean, what's the first word when people hear jiu-jitsu? What makes them seek it out?
In general?
Generally speaking, I mean, jiu-jitsu is a lot more, years ago, you hear the word jiu-jitsu, first thing that comes to mind is what?
Yeah, they're thinking of like Hoist in the UFC 1 or 2.
Yeah, MMA, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So jiu-jitsu is a lot more mainstream now, and people are starting to understand the difference between MMA and jiu-jitsu. I mean, you still have some of those people who hear the word jiu-jitsu and immediately it's like they associate it with being MMA, but there's a difference. So,
yeah, well, yeah, there's a huge difference. I don't know if people know it, but there is a difference. There is a difference.
So what's like from your experience, all the members and people that you've worked with for years? I mean, 369 probably outside of like Christmas and Thanksgiving, which you probably rolled during those days, probably 1,000 days straight, right? What when you have like your clients coming into the gym, what makes them seek out jiu-jitsu?
Like, yeah, so I assume we're talking about like adults, like mainly adults. Yeah, if we're talking about mainly adults, then I think they reach out for the self-defense aspect. Initially, like I think every guy wants to know how to fight. Like every guy, like that's sort of a primal need. We got flagged on TikTok for glorifying violence about it, but I still hold to that statement. Every guy wants to know how to fight, but that's why they reach out, but they stay for different reasons. A lot of them come in from the gym, from Planet Fitness, from CrossFit or wherever they're training at, and they're like, yeah, I mean, I just want to change something up. I want to change something up, and I'm looking for something new. They get stagnant with their current workout. They get, the monotony of the gym with too many people in the gym. That can be a real issue. So, I mean, there's several things, but I'd say self-defense, just to change up the routine. I mean, what do you think?
Well, I think, the biggest thing is people want to change. You talk about like men need some type of physical outlet, right?
For sure.
So there's lots of ways to get it between CrossFit, between lifting weights, between running. I mean, men have like energy, testosterone, and good and bad energy built up in them. We got to release it.
Yeah.
And I think going to the gym after a short amount of while, it becomes from, getting in a really good shape, because you could get in great shape, sculpt the body, get those biceps and pecs that you're looking for, get your six. Sure. Then what? Yeah. It's about continuously using that energy to do something good for your body.
What
what one of my favorite sayings is, because we spoke to one of the local gym owners. We might be doing a podcast at a local gym, and probably announce that soon. Is when you go to the gym and you lift weights, you got to hit them hard. You got to, because weights don't hit back.
Yeah. That I think that's a hard sell for people. I think that's a hard sell to see the dude who's squatting like 350 or benching 300, and to just and when I can pull like 170-pound teenager purple belt or higher, and like they're going to give them a really hard time. Like I think that I still think people see it, but they don't fully believe it. Like there, I think there is still a level of disbelief. What do you think? I mean, you agree with that?
Yeah, you know what? Like there's not one person that I've met in decades of lifting weights that has got up to like the high benching number, whatever that is for you, like 200, 300, 400, 500 pounds. I've trained with guys who are benching 500 pounds that don't regret it. Not long after that, you know, you're basically pushing straight up and straight down.
Right.
There's no stabilizer muscles going on. And those guys that are pushing a lot of weight they realize that it's, you know, their joints end up giving out on them. They end up wearing down their body, you know, for being able to like push something straight up 300, 400, 500 pounds, you know?
So you spent a lot more time around the bros of society. Like what, like, why do they do it? Like, why would that just like, why I don't fully I've never really felt the draw of bodybuilding. Why do people work out like to that extreme?
Yeah, that's a good question.
And while we're talking about it, can you even compete at the top level without steroids?
Of bodybuilding?
Well,
oh, absolutely.
Jiu-Jitsu is a different question, but yeah, bodybuilding.
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, there's I believe there's some organizations that don't test for bodybuilding, and then there's obviously pro bodybuilding. So no, you can't. Absolutely not.
All right, so now you've got the wear of the actual workout, and then the wear of whatever chemical or anabolic steroid you're actually putting into or taking, you know, several times over.
Yeah, you know what? They like the interesting thing is so many people start bodybuilding and lifting weights to get stronger for self-defense.
That's true. That's actually why I started.
Yeah. So did I. So did I.
That's why I started lifting. Yeah.
Yeah. And for a little amount of time, you get caught up because you can feel like you're getting stronger. You're getting more physical. Yeah. Your body's starting to show it. And you're getting confidence. You're feeling better about yourself. You know, you feel better. You're looking better. People are starting to notice, oh, that guy's an athlete. That guy's he's big. He's strong. He can lift weights. And it's definitely a false sense of security. Definitely.
So how many, like, I know you started lifting obviously for self-defense. You've been lifting for several decades now. I guess what is jiu-jitsu? Why not jiu-jitsu? Why not take up like cycling? Like why if you're just looking to change it up, like why do you think people look up jiu-jitsu instead of cycling or CrossFit or I don't know, fill in the blank with some type of other like, you know, like just rec league basketball. Like what's the difference?
What's the difference between like different
yeah, like if you're looking to change it up, like let's say you're like me and you hate Planet Fitness and like you just don't want to wait in line for a gym or for a machine or a rack, and so like and you want to change it up, why jiu-jitsu when you could just change it up to like another physical activity? You could change it up to, you could do CrossFit, you could do a sport like basketball, which I know you played for years. You could do you know, like there's a lot of other activities. Why, I guess what differentiates jiu-jitsu from it?
Well, like look, you know, one of the things I like about CrossFit is, and jiu-jitsu really, is you could be doing your workout and you're doing your rounds. In jiu-jitsu, we call those like matches or your training, and you're doing them next to somebody who is either a female or a male that's like 50, 60, 70 years old. And ultimately you're competing against yourself. Like in CrossFit, you're competing against your own time. Right. And, you know, like every gym and every workout gives you a different type of challenge, you know? So there's like, and that's one of the other questions we have is, if you could choose one, which one would you choose, and why would you choose one over the other? Like, I know right now you're doing some you were doing some kettlebell for a minute.
In weightlifting?
Yeah.
Yeah, I change it. Like I'll change it just to switch it up. You know, like I'll do yeah, I was doing I hate kettlebells. I was doing kettlebells. I'll do some landmine stuff. I'll just kind of do like low. I do low rep. I don't really do high rep. And I lift. I just lift really just kind of like I feel like my body needs it. You know, like I don't like feeling too weak because I'm in a weight bracket. Like you can't afford to be weak. Like if you're in 190, and I'm not going to lose 20 pounds. So like you can't be 190 and be like weak for your size. So
yeah. And you know, that's the thing is like when you go to the gym and you're working out, the question always comes back is what are you looking to get out of it? And I think for like all the different type of exercises that are out there, like if you had to choose one, which one would you choose? And
I'm super biased, but yeah.
Well, as far as like outside of jiu-jitsu, what would you choose to complement your jiu-jitsu and why?
What workout would I choose?
Yeah, like if you are, you know, because we have like with all of our members, there's many of them that have actually stopped going to the gym, and this is what they do exclusively.
Yeah.
And ones that, you know, they want to complement their jiu-jitsu and they go to the gym to make sure that everything they do supports their jiu-jitsu, makes them better, faster, stronger. Yeah. You know, for members, our members and anybody watching, like, what do you do to complement being a jiu-jitsu athlete?
Yeah, I don't really know if I'm the authority. I mean, I'll tell you what I do, but I don't really know if I'm the authority on that. Like, I just mimic people like yourself or like other, you know, like I do some kettlebells, I'll do some body weight stuff, I'll do just a lot of complex, like awkward movements. What we would classify as awkward movements, like any type of twisting or compound, like you said, the straight up, straight down.
Yeah.
I mean, I might do like dumbbell, you know, but even dumbbells, like I've been doing like machine gun press stuff. Like I don't know. I switch it up, but it's always like I'm always trying to think about here's a big thing. If I'm rolling in the gym and like let's say I find I'm on bottom side control, and that's just for those who don't know, it's like super heavy, like a really bad position. And if I go to like bridge to get out of it and I feel like my body didn't perform the way I wanted it to, then I need to work on whatever that was. So if that was like a bridging twisting motion, then I feel like my obliques and things need more work, or maybe even my hips. But if I find that my shoulder, really, I just work the areas that feel sore. But like I said, I'm not really the authority on that. Like, I would definitely, you know, concede more to someone like yourself or who's been doing it a lot more. They have a lot more results. They're strong. Like that's just kind of my preference. I'm just always looking for stuff to complement the jiu-jitsu to make my jiu-jitsu easier. Yeah. Not necessarily like improve the way I look necessarily, you know. So, yeah. I mean, what do you do? Like, I feel like that's
you know, like ever since I started training sports, it's like you have your sport of choice. Okay. Like whether it be basketball, football, baseball, hockey, soccer, when you're an athlete, the best thing to do is take the gym and use the gym, lifting weights, CrossFit, whatever it is you're doing in the gym to support those movements and support those exercises, you know? And it's so mental. I had this friend of mine named Mac. All right. I had this landscaping company and many years back. And it's funny because I grew the company, like I had like almost 100 accounts, commercial accounts. And I only got out of the business because I didn't like it. Mm. Yeah. Had a bunch of trucks on the road. My key employee's name was Mac. And Mac had been in prison for like 28 years.
Jeez.
Totally institutionalized, you know?
So he just lived off like what? Like ramen and like hot dogs?
Well, Mac ended up being a cook so he can get some extra peanut butter and extra chicken from the kitchen. And when I met Mac, he was like 40 something years old, Man, Mac was cut up like taco lettuce. If you covered his face, you think he's 20-some years old.
Wow.
So the point is like he was in amazing shape, and that's all he did is work out. And over the last, I'd say probably 10 years, they started to take away weights and stuff like that from maximum security prisons because they couldn't worried about people killing each other with them and stuff like that. And Mac had got out for like attempted murder.
Sure.
He almost killed a guy a couple times.
He got 28 years for attempted murder?
Yeah, he was a second offense.
Oh
yeah.
Okay. Well,
anyway, so look, I learned so much about lifting from Mac. And this guy, I tell you, he was a cool cat. And so Mac taught me that one of the things that you might think it's crazy, but he's like, Muhammad, when you go into the gym, you're going to go work, let's say your chest and your bicep. Let's just say those are the two exercises you're working today. And he's like, you got to go into the gym, get yourself ready, and you got to trick your body. Because when you go into the gym and you're prepared to do your chest and your bicep, your muscles are already like activating. They're already, blood is pumping through them. The second you get in there, you start your weight, you got to trick your body and do something different. And like work two completely different exercises. And, from that day on, at first, I'm like, Mac, what are you talking about? Like, that sounds crazy.
That's like some Inception stuff. So wait, hang on. I just, let me, so you need to tell yourself like, hey, Monday, I'm going to go work chest and bicep.
Yeah.
And chest and bicep. Meanwhile, that when you get there, you're not doing chest and bicep. So when you,
basically.
So I know I'm telling myself that I'm going to do chest and bicep, but I also know that I'm not going to do chest and bicep. So I'm kind of already thinking about the next group I'm going to do. Like that would give me a complex, bro. If I'm doing chest and bicep, but I'm not really doing chest and bicep because I got to do like legs and abs, but then I can't do legs and abs because now I know that it's like Inception. Like you need like a thought that isn't your own thought because I know what I'm thinking.
So what's the purpose behind that?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
it's to make sure that you understand that the training that you're doing is more mental than it is physical. And so, with like lifting weights and any kind of fitness or exercise, after you get over the initial physical portion of it, like it is mental. It's not physical. Like you proved to yourself you can get through those tough workouts. It all becomes mental about getting up, going to the gym, getting underneath those weights, and banging them out. And one of the exercises he shared for anybody who wants to keep their exercises simple is he calls it the 10-10 principle. So basically, you do one exercise and one weight, 10 sets, 10 reps. The first couple.
That's simple. Yeah, that's simple.
Yeah, first couple, he might, we used to go up to like 50 reps to get that blood flowing. The rest of them are like 7 to 8 reps, are 10 reps, solid weight that you could do. But yeah, there's many different programs you can follow. I mean, like a ton. And there's not one that like sticks out over the other. But the important thing is that other than looking good, the weights in the program has to complement your job if it's physical, jiu-jitsu if that's what you're doing, if you're running, even weight loss. The weights in the gym have to complement something else because they're basically a tool to help you perform better.
I think that, let me know what your thoughts are. I feel like that's a lot of the reason that people quit is because they don't have like a really good reason. Like if I just know if I stopped lifting altogether, my time on the mat would be much, much harder. Not to mention my overall like just aches and pains would be magnified. So that's part of the reason I stopped lifting. Now, it's a means to an end, I think, like you're saying. But if someone just goes to the gym aimlessly and they're like, oh, I'm going to go like do this over here and this over here, and it's to stay in shape, then it's going to be one of those things that they hate. And I believe that like exercise, just like anything else in your life, like if you're going to stick with it, it's got to be something you enjoy. Like, I'm not going to do something that I don't enjoy for very long. You can call it lack of discipline. I call it like preferred treatment, because there's always a different option, right? So if you don't like heavy weight training, then do lightweight training. If you don't like cardio, find a different cardio. Like I can't tell you the last time I ran like anywhere. Like, so like I just don't like cardio, but jiu-jitsu, like I'll do 6x6 rounds like any day of the week. So I think because I mean, you have people coming to GNC. I'm sure they're looking for supplements, and you're probably going to ask them the same thing. Well, what do you need these supplements for? So you get into their workout routine. Like, what do you tell them? Like if they want to get results, but what if they just don't like working out? What do you tell them?
So again, like this sounds so basic. My wife and my kids yell at me. Like they always get on me whenever we go out to places, because often I'll take like an extra 20 to 30 yards parking just so I get some extra steps. If I didn't get my workout in like that day or the day before, like, I mean, every step counts, man. So it's really about how much you move, and like the advice to people, which is another question, is like, how many days should you lift and train to get results? And to answer your question is like, there's either intensity or there's frequency, and that with our competition team.
Sure.
So you can't do both, regardless of how young you are, how, what kind of shape you're in. You got to pick one. It's either intensity or frequency.
Yeah, I agree.
So, I mean, lifting, and, one of the questions that we had is, how many days should you train jiu-jitsu? What's the minimum, maximum? And how many days should you go to the gym, whether it be one or you're mixing? So
you're wasting your time if you train jiu-jitsu one day a week. Like, honestly, like, you're wasting your time, because you have 6 days to unlearn it. And the mental strength required to train one day a week, watching everyone else who started after you surpass you because you're just not training enough, like, you're wasting your time. So there's a reason that, like, when we talk to people, we're like, bro, can you commit 2 days a week? They're like, I don't know. I was like, call me when you can. So you need to train jiu-jitsu at like a minimum 2 days a week. I'd like to see, for adults, 3 to 4, but I understand, like if you took my decade of like training before we opened, kind of doing this full time, it was 2 to 3 days a week. Some days it was 4, some days it was 1. But if you take the average, it was 2 to 3. And
about like jiu-jitsu, at least the first 10 years, it was at least 3 days a week.
Yeah,
at least.
And you train more than me. You train more than me, more consistently. So there, and then I would add in there, like, if you're training 3 or 4 days a week, I'm not gonna go on here and be like, yo, you got to lift on your off days. Like, lift 1 to 2 days a week. Like, but if you're training 2 days a week, jiu-jitsu, lift 2 or 3. Because now you're staying in that habit, and whatever you're in, like, it's gonna help with that. That would be my advice. This whole subject is like, when you ask me about the jiu-jitsu aspect, I'm obviously quite qualified. If you're asking me about like the fit and like the bodybuilding, I'm like a very solid C average in terms of like weightlifting and like bodybuilding. Like, I've done a lot of like the heavy stuff outside of CrossFit, but I wouldn't feel comfortable like building a program for someone and be like, I'm going to get you this, this 6-pack result. I just, I wouldn't do that. So like, that's my advice. But again, I'm going to kind of cater to like I feel like you have a much better grasp on this. Like, what would your answer be? How should you split your weightlifting and jiu-jitsu routine?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, like I'd say the number one thing that you want to look for and listen to is your own body. And, you know, like your body's not going to tell you, I'm not getting enough vitamin C. Your body's going to say, feed me, feed me, feed me, feed me, feed me, until you happen to get enough vitamin C. And then your body's going to say, okay, I got enough vitamin C, so you could stop eating right now. So, and, you know, weightlifting.
Can I interrupt real quick?
Yeah.
So how do you know that? What if you're like the food you're eating doesn't have vitamin C?
You're probably going to keep eating until your body gets
okay.
some way, or you pop a vitamin C pill.
So you should just take your daily supplements so that your body gets the supplements that they need. And then you can just kind of eat like the healthy food that you choose.
Yeah. And
okay.
Yeah. And you know what? Like some people look at you and be like, damn, coach, you're pretty lean, you know? And it's probably because you're getting all the nutrients that you need from the vitamins, the supplements. I know you're on a pretty, you take a lot of supplements, you know, you take, this is like what do you call it? Client privilege, but I'm going to share, I mean, you got nothing to hide, but you take like the fish oil, you take vitamin C, you take vitamin D, you take your multi, you take greens, and you know that really keeps the acid out of your body. That lubricates your joints. You know, just a regular fish oil is good for your brain, and that helps you with keep your brain sharp. You know, it's brain food. And the protein that you take, it's good for your muscles. It's good for your hair. You still got a full head of hair.
Yeah, you know, I think this. I don't think this hair is going anywhere. My grandpa, he's like 92, and he's got you got
good genes.
He's got Uncle Jesse hair.
Yeah, you got good genes.
He'll be okay.
But like, you know, to answer the question is, you got to listen to your body. And if you're training jiu-jitsu 3 days a week, and you know what, you got 3 pretty good days of training, and you decide that you're going to take a day off jiu-jitsu, then you're going to go to the gym. It's probably going to be a good idea that when you do go to the gym, you lower that intensity down and almost treat it as like a stretch day, like a light lifting day, a light cardio day, just to get the blood flowing.
Yeah.
You know, and that's probably the number one way. One of the number one ways to increase recovery is do cardio.
Yeah.
So
I got a question. What is like, you ever seen like these superhero? I feel like this scene has been played out across Hollywood, but like you've got like this, like your heroine or hero or heroine, and then like this big guy comes into the scene and like he's like twice the size of whoever your hero is, and he's like this big villain, but then he like takes him out in like one stroke. You know, and this has been played out across the decades. You know, you're familiar with the scene I'm talking about. It could be a Tom Cruise scene. It could be like a Marvel superhero scene. But like the small guy just beats this big guy like easily.
Yeah.
So what is the largest human you feel comfortable grappling?
Man, David.
Like if I whatever answer you give, like he's gonna come in the door right now. And you're like, it's okay, I feel comfortable with it.
I'd be afraid to answer that question.
Yeah. Well, I'll say untrained. He's untrained.
Size doesn't matter.
Size doesn't. I don't think
man.
Size matters less. Size matters less.
I mean, you know, if that's the case, I mean, I'm not like I wouldn't want to challenge myself with a big, a humongous human to fight or to grapple with. But like, there's probably some positions or move that because of their size and strength that I'm not going to be able to get on them. But you know, that's the cool thing about jiu-jitsu is like you can attack if you can't choke somebody because they got a big neck, then you can attack their arm. And if they're just too darn strong, then you can start to move to the lower extremities and attack their legs, you know? And, you know, you could pop somebody's knee and pop their joints, ligaments, and tendons before they even feel it. By the time they feel it, the damage is done and they can't walk anymore.
Yeah.
You know? And so that's probably what I do. And then the bigger they are, the easier it is to kind of, hold on to them. So size doesn't matter, to be honest with you. But obviously, if I had it my way, I wouldn't.
Yeah,
I wouldn't order up.
I would say, like, if I'm just thinking of, I don't know if he's watching right now. I'm thinking of Chad. Chad Huber is probably one of the largest humans, strongest humans I've like grappled.
Yeah.
And he could literally, like, I've never had it. He would grab my collar and pick me up like I pick my child up. Like, so that's strong. And I think he's somewhere in the tune of like 280.
Yeah.
290.
Yeah.
That's where I'm gonna put my number. It's like 280 to 280, 290. If you get me someone like who's like 350, chances are they're out of shape. So I'd still be able to handle it, But yeah, 280, 290, that's solid.
His size is actually a professional athlete, lineman or defensive.
6'5". Yeah. So that's where I'd put that in it. And what I think about a lot is, like, we actually had a college, I'm thinking of Patrick. We had a college football player. He played college, right?
Yeah.
And like, they always like to do like this football tackle, like, they dive for you. And I went for the takedown class. I showed the guillotine the other night, and I was like, "You guys have any questions?" And he's just laughing. He's like, "You hit this on me like 6 times the very first time we rolled." Like they, because I think it's an appropriate name, because like the guillotine, just like it takes your, in the French Revolution, it took people's heads off. Like it will take your head clean off, like when you do the guillotine really well. So, I think that once you. Another guy I'm thinking of is, I'm just thinking of all these like big guys who come in here. Nate was strong, and Nate, David Taylor's buddy. He's cut 40 pounds.
Yeah,
because he realizes, he's like, this muscle's not doing anything for me, and I need to move more efficiently.
Yeah, and
him and David were professional bodybuilders.
Yeah,
and they were just like, I'm not. It's like Faraz Zahabi. He's like, do you want to move like a tow truck, or do you want to move like a Ferrari?
Yeah.
I mean, if you need to move something like one time, fine, train like a tow truck. But if you need to move like a Ferrari, which grapplers do, train like a Ferrari. So that's kind of what I think about. Like,
yeah, and like unless you're only moving within a couple, literally with a couple feet, and you don't have to run up and down, you don't need the mobility, like the leaner and lighter that you could be for your weight, the more mobility and the more athletic performance you're gonna find. And I think that in jiu-jitsu, if you train like an athlete and build your body up like an athlete, then you produce a lot more results.
I agree with that. Yeah, strong jiu-jitsu beats weak. I mean, like, that's the thing, right? Like, jiu-jitsu beats strength, but strong jiu-jitsu absolutely beats weak jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like,
and you know what? There's I forget that guy's name that fought Gary Tonin. He fought Galvo, Brazilian guy. Like, he was a little shorter. He was like stacked. I mean, stacked. It's very clear that guy injected himself with something. And Gary Tonin, do you know who I'm talking about?
I don't know. You'd be surprised at how little super fights and mainstream fights.
Look it up.
So look it up. I got a question for Stephanie's got a question that came in. She says, would you recommend Colin stretch on a daily basis? Colin is like, what, 13? I mean, he can, but like, he can. Yeah, he can. I don't know. If he's like, he's young though. Like, if you were 11, yeah, I mean, he can. But I feel like at 11, you're pretty flexible, unless he feels extra stiff somewhere. Like, I don't know. Like, if he feels that he's getting like tight, like his body's getting tight. I mean, at 11. Boy, I feel like I would love to have Colin's flexibility right now. Like, I don't know. Like, what do you think, Coach? Should 11-year-olds stretch?
What was that question?
He says, should Colin stretch on a daily basis?
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Cardio and stretching are the only fast track to success in jiu-jitsu out off of the mat. And I would say stretching is first. Absolutely. So I was looking up the that fight, and it's and the guy that Gary Tonin fought was Rasimir Polaris. And this guy was literally like Chad Huber versus you, even smaller.
Wow.
He wasn't as tall as Chad, but this guy, he probably had him by like 100 pounds, 80 or 100 pounds. And if you look at Gary Tonin's body style, and he's one of the best grapplers in the world. He's done MMA, gone back to grappling. And Gary Tonin has an athletic body, and it's not all about weightlifting. I mean, the guy's muscular, but you could tell that he trains his whole body, and he complements, jiu-jitsu, weightlifting, cross training, explosive, fast. He works his fast twitch muscle fibers. He does sleds. He's big on stretching. So as a jiu-jitsu athlete, size and muscle do not help you. And that's probably one of the that's a very common thing that we hear is like, well, I'm going to go to the gym and get in shape first. I'm going to start going to the gym first, and then
that's retarded. I've been told I'm not allowed to use that.
Well, they don't know any better. I mean, they think I got to get ready and then come in here.
That's the equivalent of saying I need to. I don't know anything. I don't know enough to go to school. That's the equivalent of what that's saying. Like, oh, I can't go to school. I need to learn stuff first. You're going to school to learn stuff. Like you're going to jiu-jitsu to get in shape. I mean, man, and guys, like, women hate it, but guys lose weight quick. Like, if a guy comes in, like, and they're like, I was like, hey, what are we looking to get out of it? And they're like, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. I was like, sweet. What else? Yeah. Because that's going to happen. Like, it'll happen really probably, depending on your size, it'll probably happen without you changing your diet. Honestly, not to say you shouldn't, but like, clean up your diet. But 20 pounds, that's like 10% of most guys' body weight. That will happen regularly. Now, if you need to lose 85, well, you'll have to be a little bit more aggressive with your plan. But
yeah, and as far as weight loss, honestly, it doesn't take much. Like, as far as weight loss in jiu-jitsu, for anybody thinking about weight loss and getting in shape, I want to start jiu-jitsu to get in shape or to lose weight. It does not take much. Like, it's in the last 3 or 4 months, Big John is down 50 pounds.
Good for him.
Yeah, in the last 3 or 4 months, Big John is 50 pounds, and it's very common if you start jiu-jitsu and you get on like a 3-day-a-week plan and you just kind of coast along. In the first few months, the number that just pops out there, it's so easy to lose that first 20, 30 pounds. Like, so easy.
For sure.
And the bigger you are, the easier it is to lose that weight.
Yep.
So what's another question that came in was, training. We talked about training. We talked about intensity and frequency. You definitely should not train frequently and intense. You got to go light for 5 days or kind of pick up the pace for 3 days. How about resting? So the question is, how many days should I rest in between sessions? And how do I know if I've gotten enough rest?
Yeah, that's where I would say when you're first starting, I feel like you need at least one rest day. One rest day in between classes when you're first starting. And these are from being ran through 30-year-old eyes. Like, if you're 19, shit, I don't care. Like, you train every day. Like, I don't care. But if you're feeling it and you're like, dude, like, I don't know if I can go to class today, it's probably a good idea to rest. But even that resting, I don't know. Like, I'm a believer in, like, what you start to do, you will continue to do. So if I start to take like too many days off, I'll continue to do that. If I start to, even on my rest days, like, I'm still, like you're saying, I go do like a light cardio or even like an active recovery, like yoga, like breath work, like just really light. You go walk, like just go, walk, go play like some volleyball or basketball or like, do something like active. Because because then it's, it's going to give your body that time to regenerate. Like if you're, man, I remember going to class, like when we were training for tournaments, and I was like, I was doing 2 a day. So I was lifting and the same day I was training. And then the next day I would come in, I was so sore and stiff because I wasn't taking supplements, drinking enough water, stretching at the time. So I'd come in, my body wouldn't feel normal until about 50 minutes into the 90-minute class. Like just to get like things moving again to where it didn't hurt to move. You're not gonna keep doing that for very long. Like not unless you're somewhat mental, like mental to the sort of obsessed with jiu-jitsu, and you've caught the bug and you're like, this is just the life that I've, committed to, and you don't mind it. Like that's okay. But for everyone else, for the average person, I'd say rest to where like I'm kind of sore, but I feel good. I can go in and still do the thing. I would say like a rest day, and even with a rest day, you can still train 3 days a week. So what are your thoughts on that?
So like I always go back to is you got to listen to the body. And, even when you're training jiu-jitsu and you're like, if you go on a 3-day-a-week plan and you're like, okay, I want to pick up my intensity and lower my frequency. And let's say we're talking about 3 days a week, you have to listen to the body. And the best way to get your body to perform better is obviously put better gas in there. Like after every workout, you look at it like, if you ever twisted your ankle playing basketball and then it starts to swell up, there's inflammation going on, and you can see that your ankle is like, it's swollen, it's big. You need to rest it and you need to take it off. So for the first couple of years in jiu-jitsu, I think that like you got to look at it like you're constantly spraining your ankle. The thing is, you don't see that swelling in your body, but your joints, your ligaments, your tendons are being pushed and pulled. And even if you're not training that hard, you're kind of stretching out your body to accommodate the moves in jiu-jitsu, and you've never done that before. So you gotta, I'm so big on supplementing because it'll definitely help you, whether you're frequency or intensity, but you got to lower that inflammation. Like inflammation is the devil for the body. And to get back to the question is like rest is, if you're doing that 3-day-a-week, like say high intensity, for example, you still want to leave some on the map. So what I mean is today's my first day of the week. And okay, today's a high intensity day. High intensity should never, ever, as an athletic performance, authority in the industry, you should never be at 100%.
Right.
You should never do that. You should always be, you got to know the difference between 80% and between 100%. Yeah. If you're like, look at it like this. If you're in a sports car, the maximum speed you can go is 180 miles an hour. Yeah. If you do that 3 days a week for X amount of time, you're going to have some problems. But what's 80% of 160? What is that?
20%. So back out 32. So you're looking at 128.
Okay. So 120 miles an hour, everybody knows. Almost any car, any newer car, that's not a problem. So if you maintain that 80%,
I'm just thinking of, I just had a vehicle that wouldn't go faster than 100. Like this was like an 05 Ford Focus, I think, but that's what I was thinking.
Well, the Ford Focus has its maximum and 80, but that's the thing, bro. The knowing where the 100% range is in the 80% range, you got a little bit more control. You could see more when you're driving down the road. The car is going to be okay at going 80% of its max, but the second you go 3 days a week at 100 miles an hour, you can't see what the hell's going on if you're driving down the road. Jiu-jitsu is no different. The gym is no different. You can't see everything that's going on. So really it's about understanding your 80 and your 100%. Yeah. And so that'll help you stick to that 3-day week plan where you actually get, 1, 2, like 3 or 4 rest days.
Yeah. I think that, I'm just thinking about that. Like that is part of one of the reasons that I feel like jiu-jitsu it's so difficult, is because you have to, if a move is done correctly, you don't need to do it 100%.
Yeah.
Like we were covering the Coach Alvarez's half guard sweep. Bro, you do that thing at 60%, like you're still not stopping it. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's what, there's a point to where once you get there, it becomes unstoppable.
Yeah.
And like it becomes unstoppable. And feeling and getting people to understand that like if you're just positional and you're like, oh, if I go here, you know, all I have to do is to get here. And I look at it from like a close guard, from a certain, like we all have our comfort positions. If I get back here, then I can kick it like at like 15%. You know, I may go like 85% in a scramble to get to like a comfort spot, but the lack of having a comfort position is somewhere you feel competent in, and B, like knowing what to do from there. Like it's all just a street fight. You're just like, I'm going 100%. Like it looks like a barroom brawl. You know, like that. No one's learning anything. You might feel good after, but you're certainly not learning anything.
And you know what? That's it's pretty common nowadays where if you start up in jiu-jitsu, that you don't do any rolling or training. You know, the majority of people are like, no, I want to jump in. I want to feel it. And, you know, I want to start doing my matches right away. And I think it's a good idea to work your way in slowly if you're like way out of shape or literally don't know anything, or you consider yourself very, very unflexible, to work your way in so you could start to get the mind-body connection, which means there's a purpose to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a workout, but it's actually, you're doing a, you know, it's like goal setting. We were talking about this last night with our team, and, you know, every day that you're on the mat doing jiu-jitsu, you're learning how to attack your goals. You know, from January is a goal setting month, right? Or December and January, we're starting to attack the goals. And usually around February, anybody who's set goals are like, you know what? It's like, it's starting to kick in. My short, mid, and long-term goals are like, they're not happening right now.
Right. And,
you know, it takes time. And jiu-jitsu really helps complement any goal setting, because after the first, like after every class, you know, you have a goal like that you're trying to work towards 5 minutes straight, 100% focus, take a break, 5, 7, 10 minutes straight, 100% focus. And jiu-jitsu really, really helps you dial in and understand, if you got a goal, you have to be focused on it, and you have to work at something specific. But the second you just kind of get in there and not know what you're doing and go 100 miles an hour, you know, you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to get anywhere real fast. Yeah, so the last question that came in was, what's the closest comparison or closest workout to jiu-jitsu?
I don't know, man. Maybe wrestling, another form of grappling. I don't.
So outside of wrestling, because you could say that. I mean, there's obviously more.
Yeah.
There's more going on in jiu-jitsu. But outside of grappling, what other sport outside of like sambo, wrestling, could you compare to a workout like football or like jiu-jitsu?
I don't know, man. I don't play a lot of sports. I'm just trying to think. Trying to think a lot of them. I don't have enough experience in sports to answer this question. I'm just, and the ones I do, they're not even close. Basketball, no. Football, no. Volleyball, no. I can't think of one. Like I can't think. Like CrossFit might be the closest, but bro, CrossFit is just that will destroy your body. Like, I don't know if there will ever be a time where I need to squat 200 pounds on a medicine ball. Like, I don't know if that will ever, like, if I'll ever be in a situation in my life where that's necessary. So I don't know. Like, I honestly don't know one. I mean, you've played you're an athlete. Like, I'm just kind of like a nerd who started training jiu-jitsu. So like, what's the sport that you think's comparable? Someone's saying cheerleading. Well, okay, guilty as charged. I've never done cheerleading, but like,
That's
what do you think?
really for guys or girls? I know both do them, but it's a workout. I probably wouldn't say that's at the top of the list. I don't know, but I would say, yeah, you know what? Honestly, I would say first, if you take basketball, there's a lot of moves and positions in basketball that really help you with your footwork. And then if you've ever played basketball and what's his name? Not Chris Holmes, his cousin.
Oh, Louis?
Louis. Yeah.
Yeah.
Miss Louis. So Louis, I really had a connection with Louis when I first started training because Louis was like all into basketball. He was a basketball player. And, you know, if you ever go to compete at these tournaments, like they are they're like Shark Tanks, man. Like those tournaments where you're going back to back to back, they're like Shark Tanks. And so I think there's a lot of sports in the positions, in the grind that are could simulate some areas of jiu-jitsu, but I would probably say football is the closest.
Football,
it's not as organized. The violence is not as organized. When I was playing growing up over the years, my coaches used to call organized violence, and now that I look back, it's like it's way less organized than jiu-jitsu. But I would say football is probably pretty close.
Football is like, here's my thing. We did a Super Bowl one time here at Metro. Bro, this thing was 4 hours long and nothing happened. It was 4 hours long of 20-second plays. I don't care what happens in that 20 seconds. I don't see how it's comparable to a 6-minute match of like, and I'm gonna like, I know I'm offending the American population here because football is like their demigod, but like, how can you compare a 20-second play? I don't care how big the dude is, like a 20-second play.
Well, yeah, I mean those. You know what? Like you don't see it because you've never been on the line or like been in that like that thing. But those 20-second plays, you're literally giving 100%. There's no half-ass in it in football, and so yeah, I would say there are. And then the other thing is, if you watch a black belt match, right? Black belt in jiu-jitsu. For somebody who doesn't see a flying armbar, for somebody who doesn't see a like, you know, this like acrobatic pass or like big move, they can't appreciate jiu-jitsu like you and I can because it's very tactical.
Yeah, I'll concede that. Yeah, jiu-jitsu especially is boring.
And football is a game of inches. And the strategy in football, there are times when they're going to let you move the football down more to manage the clock. Same thing with jiu-jitsu. They're going to give you a little bit of space to kind of open up for something. You know, sometimes they'll open up and, you know, give the receivers some, you know, short pitches just to keep them contained. And with and jiu-jitsu is the same way, is that it's very, very tactical. Like very tactical.
I'll concede that. Here's my thing, right? Like you go back to your why. So I've put in all the work and the investment and the effort to be like an elite football player. And the elite football player, I mean, forget the fact that they're millionaires. Okay, so I guess that's one why. If I want to be a millionaire, I could do that. But like, what have you obtained? Like what life skill have you obtained? And this is what I combat with every other sport. Like you want to talk about, what life skill have you obtained? Because I, again, don't know if I'll ever be in a position where someone puts like a gun to my head or attacks me and it's like, bro, if you don't get this little leather ball across that painted line, you're dead. In jiu-jitsu, like you've obtained now and a very tactical, practical life skill to where like you can defend not only yourself, but other people if and when the need should arise. That's like what my always like, at least if I put something towards it. Now I get working towards something simply for the fact of like, I want to be good at it. Like if that's enough, that's enough. But I just, I don't know if there's ever been a need, you know, unless there's like money on the line at a post-Thanksgiving, you know, dinner. But even then, it's like there's no life. Like jiu-jitsu is a life skill. That's why like there's sport jiu-jitsu, but jiu-jitsu should be a life skill.
And you know what? Like the highest guys in every in football, basketball, soccer, they'll all say the same thing. They'll all say like football is life, baseball is life. It taught me how to be better and everything else. And jiu-jitsu is the same. You know, jiu-jitsu is life. And I think I played them all. And I think that jiu-jitsu complements life better than anything else that I've ever done. But, you know, it's really about the preparation. You know, it's all.
I have a question about that. Do you think that the top performers, like they're crediting their success to their craft? But do you think that the top performers, you take the LeBrons, the Michael Jordans, I ran out of famous basketball players, but like they take those people and any craft they took up, they probably would have excelled at because they were that guy. You see what I'm saying? Like I think it's great to be like, oh, basketball made me this guy. Yeah. I'd be like, bro. Although now that I'm thinking about it, Michael Jordan took up baseball. He didn't do so hot at that. So,
but you know what?
I don't know. Maybe I might need to retract that. I don't know. I'm just like there's a certain amount of work ethic that needs to go into whatever you do. And I think those guys had the discipline.
You know what? And that's what it boils down to is all of those guys have one thing in common is they probably had the best and hardest work ethic on their entire team. And really that's what it comes down to. And then as far as like sports, athletes, and whatever you're training for, the practice is where you become who you become. The practice is where you grow. The training sessions is where you grow because the game, like the tournaments and the matches and all that stuff, they only last a couple minutes.
Right.
But where the real growth happens is like when I was playing football, one of the fun memories I had is we had the whole football team piled in the station wagon and two guys would take turns on the back of the thing, pushing it around the parking lot. And, you know, like there's no football game that I've ever played in that was harder than me pushing the car. And I took that with me and I used it years after when I started training jiu-jitsu just to build up my whole body. But yeah, but the practice is honestly in the training is where you become an athlete and separate yourself from everybody else. Any other questions on there, Coach?
No other questions. Tanya says, I know I'm a little bit late, but men's gymnastics.
She says, I know I'm a little bit late, but gymnastics.
One of the sports is difficult.
Yeah, I agree. That's very, very, very difficult.
Yeah, I agree. That's tough. Like that's in terms of like intensity. But there are times in jiu-jitsu where you literally have to continue doing your job at 50% oxygen levels because you're being strangled. So like, I feel like that, again, that adds like, and I'm admittedly biased, you know what I mean? But like if let's just say they had like a wristband monitor on all the gymnastics in the gym, all the men, and they're like, yo, Fox, your oxygen levels are at 50%. You need to go sit down right now. And then like, meanwhile, we're on the mats and like dude's face is going purple and we're like, turn into him, turn it, you know, like that. So there's a little bit, I'll just say there's a little bit of there's that nuance because even in that one, I will consider it's very difficult. Like we were watching figure skating at the Olympics. I don't know why the Olympics have really gone downhill, but like we were watching.
You were watching figure skating,
bro. I don't want to talk about it. Like it was on. It's not like I was like
behind that.
Home. It's not like I rushed home and I was like, yo, like let's watch this. It was just on.
Well, my daughter hijacked the TV and had me watching it too. So
yeah, it was like, it was the amount of bodily discipline and coordination that goes into it, like gymnastics and things of that nature, it's great. But you're competing against yourself. You're great in jiu-jitsu and wrestling and any grappling. There's a 200-pound mammal trying to kill you.
Yeah.
And stopping everything else from what you're doing. Like that adds a whole new level of mental. And I think that's like, I think that alone is like, yo, like that's like a.
And you know,
I don't know if I want that, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
when you're looking at like an exercise program, whatever it is you want to do, or picking up a hobby, are there any, and I think gymnastics is awesome, but are there any 70-year-olds that do gymnastics, or 80? Probably not.
Yeah, it's 70, probably not.
Yeah. And you know what? Like we have,
I don't think they're stepping on the balance beam, you know?
Yeah. And you know what? Like one of the cool things about jiu-jitsu and why you should train jiu-jitsu is because the age and the gender doesn't matter, male or female. Like you could do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And you can get a good workout, and you can kind of get physically stronger. You can get more, you know, you can get all the benefits of it. And you could do it for years and years and years. And when choosing a sport for anybody, I don't want to get into this. You have to keep that in mind. But like my oldest son, Jabril, I was coaching him for football for like 12 and 13 years old. And mind you, football was I loved that. I just loved it. And I just loved the physical aspect of it. And I started to see my son, Jabril, play football. And I understood, if you play football the right way, you have to be handing out concussions, or you better be getting them. And that's just the way it is. Anybody who understands football and knows it, they're going to agree. You better be passing out concussions, or you better be getting them. You got to like hunt when you're on the football field. I saw that he had that instinct, and my wife couldn't believe it. But I'm like, Nancy, I'm like, you know what? I think I'm taking him out of football. I'm just going to put him back in soccer. And she's like, what? Why? And I'm like, well, he's playing it the right way. The coaches love him. He's physical. He's probably going to be a big kid. But fast forwarding, I don't want my son to get a bunch of, concussions. And, I just made a call. And the footwork that comes with soccer, I just thought would complement it. So that's one of the reasons why I took him out. But you got to think about whatever sport or activity you're doing for yourself or your children. Can they do this long term? And there's no guarantees, but they affect you, and they could affect your health.
Yeah. Yeah, that's reason number 857 I don't play football. Like that. I don't know, man. I've already got limited time in my schedule. Like, if I'm going to need something that, well, I'm biased. I'm biased towards jiu-jitsu, obviously. Like, I'm biased towards jiu-jitsu. And I'm not against anyone who plays those other sports, but I think that was the right call, because Jabril hurts.
Yeah. Well, you guys are, that's, there's obviously, we've gotten feedback from many members, hundreds of members over the last few years. We have ex-collegiate athletes, both male and female. And there's a reason why it attracts them to this, because at the collegiate level, it's the biggest commitment in the world, and they're not getting paid for it. They're not getting paid hundreds and millions of dollars. And for them to cross over to being a collegiate athlete, to start training jiu-jitsu, that just tells you about the discipline, the challenge, the workout, the community, and so much of that you can get with jiu-jitsu. And I think that's why it's attracting a lot of people, and it's such a good choice for exercise and fitness.
100% agree.
Any other questions?
That's all we got, man. That's all I got on my end.
All right, guys. Well, next week we might have a surprise location. If we work it out, we might be on site visiting somewhere, visiting a to be determined place, to be announced place. But Do us a favor. If you guys have heard anything that might be able to help somebody in whatever fitness endeavor that they're doing, or you found any of this informational or educational, just click the like button, tag somebody, share it. Our goal, regardless of where you guys are at, whatever sport you're doing, is to add value and make sure that you guys stay healthy and live well, and just get the resources you need for whatever it is you're doing. And if we don't have it here at Metro, we'll definitely connect you with somewhere or someplace that can help you.
100%. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. As always, we'll see you
on the mat.